And we are go. All right. So, to start things off, can you tell us your name and what it is that you do?
Um, well, my name is Teresa Del Pilar, and I am a cartoonist. I suppose you could use that word. I draw comics and illustrations, and I also am a teacher as well. So I do 50-50 illustration and cartooning and teaching. And yeah, I do web comics and comics in anthologies mostly.
Well, the the one I know you from is, correct me if I have the name wrong, Graduation Nightmares.
No, that's correct. Yeah, yeah.
That is. All right, do you want to talk about that? Like for those that don't know, what is it?
Sure. So Graduation Nightmares is my personal project, is what I strive to do in my free time or when I'm not doing other commissions and things. And it's a webtoon webcomic. And for those who are not familiar with the platform, webtoon is a online platform that has an app on the phone if you are so inclined to read comics on your phone. And it has a enormous catalog of free comics to read, and one of the many comics in that platform is mine, is Graduation Nightmares, and it's basically a graphic novel but
Okay.
online.
Now, I'm going to try and describe the story of Graduation Nightmare. Correct me if I'm wrong. It follows a young woman who is about to graduate, and it goes into dreams that she's having, and uh, it's half slice of life and half I don't know, self discovery or surreal surreality. I don't know, like I'm trying to not give things away, but she's like trying to figure something out about herself in the
Hmm.
dreams.
Yeah. I describe it as slice of life paranormal because it has to do with her nightmares and the fact that her nightmares are, in her opinion, trying to tell her what to do in real life. And the chaos that generates in her life as a result, because if you think that your nightmares are giving you messages, probably you're going to end up doing a lot of stupid things. So it's like comedy slice of life mixed with a little bit of paranormal nightmare stuff.
Okay, all right. So part of the reason why I figured I'd have you on talk about things is just get this out of the way. You're a part of a Kickstarter right now that's going on, I believe.
Yes, actually I am. Yeah.
You want to go talk about that, or because we could talk about
Sure.
you all day? So
No, I'll tell you about my Kickstarter. Well, it's not my Kickstarter. It's
okay,
Arcane Industries. It's an indie publisher that puts together these really cool anthologies that revolve around one topic. And this particular anthology is a collection of short stories between 6 and 8 pages, all full color and all self-conclusive. So you read it and it's a full story. And it's 170 pages. And if you want to get the PDF, just the digital copy, is only $15. So it's really good value, in my opinion. And there's some really good artists and writers involved. And the topic of the anthology is like the orders we are given. So it's a very broad topic, but it goes from like a child being told what to do to a lord and its warrior, which is my story, and other types of commandments that we are given.
I saw some promotional art. I believe you drew a. All right, now I'm going to be saying this phrase a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like a Chinese warrior dog.
Almost. It's a samurai. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
samurai dog.
I didn't want to go samurai because like everyone says samurai. I saw like elements of like, okay, so samurai.
Yeah. It is set in like what it is set, inverted commas, in medieval Japan, and the dog is a samurai guardian of a
Okay.
castle.
Well, with your art is very. You did a very good job on that story, based on the promotional art. Just because, like, you know how like you can tell artists like really enjoy what they do on certain projects, and on
Yeah.
other projects it's like, all right, here's another one. But like that one, like it looked like you had fun with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to say who doesn't enjoy drawing dogs in armor, but I know I do, and probably some people wouldn't. But I enjoy drawing animals, especially if they're embodying human traits, like anthropomorphic animals or animals doing human things. I find it fun. I like fables and I like things like that. So this was really fun to do. And I did it in collaboration with another artist. So I got out of the way all the stuff I don't like. So he did the backgrounds because he likes that. And I was like, well,
Oh,
great, because I hate backgrounds. So we were both really happy. He could avoid character art, which he doesn't particularly enjoy, and I could avoid background art.
okay. Now, uh, to go back to basics a little bit. Like, what are your influences when you're creating art? Because there's so many interesting things going on nowadays. Because it used to be everybody listened to the radio, everybody watched the same television shows, everybody read the same books. But now that you're or everybody is like has the internet now or has cable television or satellite TV or what have you, like there's these kids that are being influenced by 1950s guitarists that are like making garage rock sounds that are like not vintage, but just like their influences aren't the same thing anymore. So like, what's
Right, yeah.
yours?
Um, a mix, like everybody. But I would say the most basic thing would be, you know, a manga, like Dragon Ball. When I was little, I used to love Dragon Ball, and that was a big influence. I really like the round shapes and the adventuring part of Dragon Ball. Not Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball.
Now that's interesting because uh, in America, the number one thing that got introduced to people first was Dragon Ball Z. Like,
I know, yeah.
and but it also depends on what, like, because I don't know about your situation, but in America, or at least for me, Dragon Ball Z was. I was telling somebody else on it in the previous interview. I got up at 6 in the morning to set the VCR to record before I went to school. Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
So, but that was in like early '90s.
Yes.
Then late '90s, Dragon Ball Z comes to Cartoon Network.
Right. Yeah. No.
Now,
Yeah. We got it before that.
well, that's where I'm curious now. Uh, you guys got Dragon Ball first,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
so how'd you guys get Dragon Ball first?
Well, I'm from Spain, and in Spain we don't have like a strong national cartoon industry. And most of our cartoons as kids came from three sources. They came from France, and we got because the French make animation and cartoons, so we got a lot of French cartoons, and we got American cartoons, and we got Japanese cartoons. So it was always a mix. The television programming for children in Spain was a mix of those three sources, and yeah, it was very very different. But I tended to prefer Dragon Ball to anything other, like anything else. And in terms of comics, it was the same. We got American comics, French and Belgian comics, and Japanese comics. So those are like those three big areas of the world were my influences in different little shows and series.
Okay, so like, uh, you, I'm trying to like put my head around this because I'm trying to imagine what America would be like with an absence of comics, uh, because um, having read like Marvel and DC for the longest time, and plus like we got introduced to manga like late '90s,
Quite
early
late,
2000s.
yeah.
But like I'm something of a comics historian, and the uh, America used to have westerns. They used to have like romance comics. They used to have more than superheroes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and the older I get, the more stories that come out, the more like perspectives you get. You kind of get an understanding of how that happened. But like, I'm just trying to like imagine like what it would be like, because
Well,
like
yeah.
well, supposedly Japan got comics because of American GI. So like, I don't know if that's entirely true or not because everybody had their own version of like sequential storytelling on paper. But
Yeah.
uh,
Well, the way my understanding of it is that there was this. Swiss guy. It was called Rodolph Toffer, and he was the first one to publish a comic book, and that was in the 1800s. And then after that, that got sent to America, and they started to do something similar, and then they influenced Japan. And it kind of like went round. There was something small in Europe that went to America because everyone was, going to America, immigrating to America, and then it went round back to the Japan. But then the funny thing about those things is that every nation or every culture puts their spin on things. So the
Oh yeah.
way the Japanese or the Europeans or the Americans interpret the medium is quite different and quite interesting.
Oh, I just love the approach that Japan has taken to it overall. In that, as long as it fits, like I think they have genres, but I think their publishing is bent towards demographics.
Yeah.
Like they'll like target women and young girls. They'll target older men and what have you. And then they have Shonen Jump, which is like general audiences, but it's targeted like at young kids, not young
Yeah.
kids, but like
Young
like
boys.
yeah, that 13-year-old boy in Japan. But the the as long as the story is suitable for those demographics, no matter what it is, they'll put it out there.
Yeah.
But like I said, the more you hear about it, the more you realize, oh, okay, so there's caveats. But I don't know. America is interesting because like right now we have like a thriving independent market, and Japan doesn't have that, according to certain
Mm.
people I talk to.
Not that much, no. Um, I mean, it's a complicated story, and I think the way we understand things is very different. So the Japanese understand genre very differently. We understand genre in the West as like the type of story you're telling. So like if you go to a library of comics, you would say like science fiction,
Mm.
superhero. So they would separate like what is the subject matter of the story rather than who is it addressed to, which is the way Japanese comics are organized. Like, this is addressed or made for older women, older men, young girls, young boys, teenage girls, teenage boys. So they don't understand genre in the same way, and that's created some interesting. I think it opens people up to different types of stories in ways that they can't be open to here in the West.
Now, do you count like all the West as the West? Because I always looked
In
at
the understanding of genre, yeah, we understand
okay,
genre in a similar way. Not in everything, but I think we have points in common that the Japanese do very differently.
oh yeah, but like in terms of comics, like I always looked at European uh, tastes as like not just because the like it lacks of superheroes, but just like the approach because like French comics, like they look at that as I don't know, like novels more so. Like now, mind you, my knowledge of French comics is so very lacking at this point.
Yeah.
I only hear about the ones that are super successful or the ones that are super bad because that's the way importing works. Like you either get the ones that are so cheap because they suck, or they are so good and they are guaranteed. Like they had an audience over there, so they come over.
Right.
So, but the because when you go into the I don't know, do you in Spain are they called Bande Destinies or is it
No, that's French.
that's French?
Yeah, yeah. But bande dessinée is like the general term we use in general in the whole world, I think, to refer to that specific style of French and Belgium. That then other countries can exploit that format and that style, but I think we generally call it BD as Japanese comics are called manga. It's just a way to refer to that general style. The big album in color with super large art,
Mm-hmm.
self-contained stories, maybe 80 pages. That type of format is what people call bande dessinée.
Well, I'm such an American that I actually assume that well, all of Europe must do it like that or something, just because like I'm not hearing about so many other comics. So
No, that's the dominant scene here in Europe. Yeah, the bande dessinée scene. But you have British comics, you have Italian comics, you have all sorts of comics
okay,
that work inside or outside of that format. But it is a format. It's the same like thinking about American comics as floppies. That is
mm-hmm.
the predominant format that is used in America, the comic book floppy. But not everyone in America does that. There's people that do graphic novels, or there's people that do hardcover books or different formats. but it is classically the format that is associated with that culture and that scene.
Well, over the last 20 years, it's been interesting with floppies because me personally, I don't think they're going to die anytime soon. However, like it's called the comic book industry for a reason, and it
Yeah,
like in terms of business, like it's harder and harder to. It's like you're going to charge $5 for a 32-page floppy,
that is the problem. Yeah, they're
and
so bloody expensive.
like I could see them like I've put out podcast episodes before. It was like if I were to fix DC Comics or any comic book publisher, like I would have like 10 books instead of 50, and just like you have the Batman book, which is the entire Batman family worth of titles, and it doesn't have to be 22 pages each, but it just
Yeah,
becomes like they used to do it back in the day called Showcase, where it's like, well, this character's copyright is going to be coming up soon, so we got to have a really good story or any story to make sure that we don't lose the character.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you would get these, I don't know, Devil Dinosaur, which I believe is a Marvel property, but like you get the idea, like that
yeah,
thing from the '60s that still exists. So
yeah. Yeah, well, like just to give you an idea of the prices, I don't know what the prices in America are, but for example, last weekend I went to the comic shop and I bought, I don't know if people can see my screen, but like for example, this comic, right? This is an 80-page color comic. This is British actually, but is the typical European format with the hardcover, really lush. This is $15.
ooh,
And then I go to get a floppy and it's five. What am I gonna get? These or the floppy?
for 3 floppies, or I'm gonna get that, which you're smart to get that, but
Yeah, this is
that
the thing. I don't think the price is right at the moment. Otherwise, I think comic books wouldn't be in any perilous position at all.
I think um, there needs to be like more of an emphasis on online comics, or even if DC had or Marvel or any of the Americans had like a webtoons page where it's just like, hey, these are our series. We're just gonna have like the scrolling, because I don't know if you've ever like, well, I know you've done webtoons, but uh,
Like Comixology and that stuff.
the Comixology I think requires more work than webtoons, because webtoons, the scrolling of it, you can have a single page be a
Yes.
third of an episode. So, but with Comixology, like it's still a lot more pages going into it.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of work to do in terms of formatting, pricing, and distribution as well. I think one of the biggest problems of the American industry at the moment is distribution. Uh,
Well,
because,
well,
Diamond and all that stuff is a bit problematic.
well. Earlier this year, when Diamond decided not to do their jobs, like mind you, like uh, it was the pandemic going on, so they're like, we don't want to like risk infection of our people. But mind you, like every store just collectively just like went like when Diamond announced that they were like pausing, and that just like I can only imagine how many shops like folded because of that. Because
Right.
even the big ones like got hit hard with that one. Everyone had to either find a way to make money or find a way to get books to people. But even then, like they had no new books coming in.
Yeah, yeah. So that is one problem, you see, like having this strange monopoly of distribution. That doesn't happen in any industry. Like you're just trying to you have an intermediary taking the product to the consumers, and they have so much power. That's a strange situation that it's hard to understand how it happened.
Uh, I I understand how it happened because um, the I'll put it to you this way: every chance that comics in America had to increase their spread and increase their um, popularity, uh, they did the exact opposite of what they needed to do.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like 1950s comes out, like the comics are like are these ruining the children or whatever? So, uh,
yeah, the comics code. Yeah.
so they put the comics code on there, and certain publishers couldn't function anymore because Like EC at one point was the number one comic book company, and then they put the code on there, and it's like, well, they can't publish their stories anymore. Like they're like, oh, what have you? Then newspaper distributors stopped distributing the comics because they didn't sell it. Like the price point couldn't work anymore.
Right.
Now, mind you, I'm talking off the top of my head, so I'm probably getting a lot of this wrong right now. So take it with a grain of salt. But then the direct market comes out, and the direct market was all these individual comic shops that are dedicated to selling comics, and they only sold what sold. So westerns, romance, sci-fi stories, like they all didn't sell as much as superheroes. So everybody is like just focusing on superheroes. So that's what happens to like DC, Marvel. They really succeed, but then you have these stragglers like Archie or trying to think like there's a couple like Dark Horse came out in the 80s at the dawn of um, the direct market, and then it was just you had a monopoly from Diamond because Marvel there was, don't forget, Marvel bought a Heroes World, which is a distributor, and that folded because Marvel was poorly run, and that one, like, I'll put it to you this way: it's a miracle that we are still getting American comics right now. Thank God the movies exist because it's an impetus to keep them around for the
Yeah.
bigger corporations.
Yeah. So there you go. And that would be a thing that maybe an opportunity right now to fix that about distribution. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, but here's the one thing I'll take away from everything: comics will never die. However, DC Comics, Marvel Comics, they
Yeah.
could. Like it'll be very hard to do, but it could happen. And
Yeah. Yeah, it
but
would be very hard.
like there's people like you out there that are telling their own stories on webtoons, like and I don't. I only know of like one or two millionaire comic book artists. So like I can only imagine like that people who do it, they do it because they have to do it, and they do it because they really enjoy doing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like we're talking about two things that clash but need each other, which is business. You need to run a good business in order to get that product out to people.
Mhm.
But you also need people that don't care about business and care about making the comics. And I think if you don't balance those two rights, you end up with a lot of comics that nobody can read because they don't even know they exist and they can't reach them. Or you end up with a lot of comics that have no heart because they're just being created for the market and not from creators. So yeah, I think finding the balance between those two is key. And having a platform such as Webtoons, which they take care of the formatting and the programming and everything, and I don't have to worry too much about it. And I just have to put my work in there and tell everyone, hey, it's here. If you want to read it, it's free.
Hmm. Well, did you ever read or watch Genshiken?
The one about the club, the
Yep.
yeah, I read the first bit, but I haven't read the whole thing.
Okay, I would recommend reading the whole thing only because
They get a comic out, don't they?
yep, it is the I don't know about the most accurate, but it is maybe the truest thing I've ever seen about like making comics or making a comic. Like, cause like there's all these like little things and like little discussions. It's like that you could definitely tell that because them going to Comic Con 2 times or whatever. Like as fans, they're waiting in line for like hours in the baking sun in the summertime, trying to get into the convention. And then when they're actually like having the comic, and then they're sitting at the table, and it's like, oh man, sitting at this table is so hard or whatever. I just wish I could just like sit in a line all day and just like trying to get in here and just enjoy myself. Or
Yeah.
there's this one part like because this conversation reminded me of it. There's a character that is kind of slimy, kind of creepy or whatever. He's just going around to all the artists and he's just trying to get all the most popular artists to do one book together. And like he knows it'll sell and everybody knows it'll sell, but nobody wants to deal with this guy. And that to me is comics. Because like there's this, cause, I don't know if you're familiar with DC Comics' like founding history or whatever, but DC Comics started with the mob.
A lot of things that start out like that. Yeah, I can see that being true.
Yeah, because I've done it. I've tried to be a YouTuber for the last 20 years, and I just keep failing at it. but I just keep doing it because like I enjoy like moments like this where I get to talk to people, and the yeah, one of my original projects was talking about like the oral history of comics and just me explaining things. As some of it was pretty bad too because it was just like I didn't have as much knowledge as I have now. But DC Comics, like the guy that started it was kind of not crazy, but he was eccentric, and the two guys that came in there had mob connections, so they like swindled him out of like his third of Detective Comics, and then that's what where DC comes from, and like I want to say it was like pre-Superman, pre-Batman, but he was pissed when Superman and Batman dropped and like the company got big.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of dodgy dealings with IP and rights and things like that back then. It was all done very very informally, and you know, then when you do things like that, people tend to be taken advantage of if they're a bit naive.
Well, there's that, and also like they didn't know that it was going to be as successful as it was. Like to them, they were trying to make rent or whatever, make a profit. Like that was their goal. Like they didn't think about, oh, this is going to be a radio show, this is going to be a movie, this is going to be a video game. They had no concept of that.
This is gonna be a roller coaster.
Oh,
In the Warner Brothers park. Yeah, like you can never predict those things, but I think it's a good lesson for all of us. Like what happened to Batman's writer as well, the other guy that wrote
Bill
Batman.
Finger, Bill
Yeah,
Finger.
I think it's a testimony to it is okay to go out in and do things with like I'm doing them. You know, I'm putting them out on webtoons. I'm like everyone is free to read, but then you have to, you know, bear in mind that not everyone is as is not doing it not everyone is out there for the love of comics.
Yeah.
You have to watch out a little bit because some people are out there to see if they can make a quick buck.
Well, the two that come to mind, do you follow Bleeding Cool at all?
No, not that one.
All right. What about Rich Johnston in general? Do you follow his? Because
Nope.
he's like sort of like page 6 or TMZ of comics, and occasionally he is the guy that you go to, be like, because he has a large enough audience, and he's willing to put this stuff out there. Of this guy doesn't pay. This guy
Right.
swipes. Because part of the press's function is to enforce um, uh, good practices, and like I actually did a story on because I've said this before, I'll say it again. Rich Johnson did a story on Josh Hoops, who was an art. He wasn't even an artist. He was a guy that would say he's an artist, and then he would go to actual artists, get the artwork. So here's the publishers. Here's Josh Hoops. Here's the actual artist. Josh Hoops goes to the publishers. I am like this guy over here, and like, do you guys have any work for me? It's like, yeah, we have work for you. So they pay Josh Hoops, and then Josh Hoops goes to the artist. All right, this is what we need.
So like an agent, but a
Uh,
sleazy agent.
he would pretend that he was the artist.
Wow. Okay.
So
So not
so
like an agent.
he would pay the artist a little bit up front, and like just say think acting as the publisher
Yeah.
or a commissioner or whatever, and so when the publisher would pay him, he would disappear once he got the most of the money gone. So publisher comes out, hey, where's our pages? Artist, where's my money? So publishers occasionally would have to pay double because they needed the pages for the work, so the artist might have gotten paid
Right.
eventually. But like I did a story on that one, I changed like the nature of like the whatever. Like that one's on Webtoons right now, so uh, the I don't want to talk about me right now. I'm just rambling at this moment. Sorry about this. Uh,
It's okay.
so, what are your goals going forward? Like
With comics in general, or with graduation nightmares in particular?
both. I mean, like
Um,
do you see this being like a perpetual story where it's like, man, she's never graduated, like 10 years later?
she fell off a cliff and is in an eternal coma, having nightmares forever.
Please don't. I hate those endings. I hate those endings.
No, don't worry. I'm not going to do that. I have an ending in mind, yeah, and I have a page count in mind. I'm a discovery writer, so I can't tell you exactly the page count. I don't have a script. I write scene by scene, and I know which beats I need to hit. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I'm so slow, because I'm like, how do I get from here to here? Because I didn't plan it before, so I have to find out a solution. Um, and so my plan is to finish Graduation Nightmares next year, before the end of next year, hopefully. And it's about 150 to 100 pages, somewhere around that. I'm on 110. So I think it's doable. I think it's okay. And once I finish that, I have a few pitches that I'm going to do for publishers. And if they don't go through, if they don't get picked up by a publisher, then that would be my second webtoon. Because my idea is that webtoons is a great place to build up an audience and to, you know, get get my bearings with comics, like learn how to do it and see what I'm doing wrong.
Okay. Well, two things. Because I've gotten messages from you to like, hey, do you want to check these comics pages out? And your system of ABC, amazing,
Boring.
boring, confusing. Like,
Yes.
those are like that is a very good editorial system in terms of like just like peer review. And damn it, that was I'm going to save for the next one. Two things. Oh, the audience. One of the best pieces of advice I've gotten from editors in at comic conventions, um, have an audience. Like if you want work, like come in with enough people that are interested in your work, that it could justify selling to other people. I don't know, like your landscape is, but I would imagine that is true everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, obviously not in like big companies and big publishers. They work more through. I mean, they have enough marketing budget to do their own thing if they want to. But for people starting up, I think it's a good thing to go to the publisher and say, "This is my work. This is what I do. This is my already published comic, and I have a couple thousand people following me." It's better than go in and say like, this is the thing I did in my basement, nobody knows about me, and I don't want any feedback. It has to be like this. I'm trying to become more open to criticism, and more in, I don't know, I'm trying to strike that balance between I have a vision and I know what story I want to tell, but I need to listen to other people. And I think what I'm learning through publishing this online and listening to the criticism and the comments people make is that to get to the core of the story. What is it that I care about, and what is just things that I can get rid of? So as long as any of the criticism like doesn't go against the core of the story and the core of my mission, then I can change everything else. But at least I know that, and if I know that, I will remain true to my vision, regardless of revisions or impositions from publishers or editors or an audience. That's what I'm focusing on right now. Understanding what is that core, what I'm trying to do.
I don't know. I like to doing two things when I start a project. I want to start with a problem that needs a solution, and like um, sometimes like that could be the first thing. Like it could be like instead of having an overarching story, like the as long as you solve that initial problem, uh, because that's what my favorite kind of storytelling is. It's like, all right, we solved the problem, but in solving the problem, we found out, oh, there's an even bigger problem going on right now. Uh, are you a Warren Ellis reader by chance?
A what?
Warren Ellis?
No, no, I don't
Okay.
read.
Okay. He wrote a novel called Gun Machine. It's police detective story. Um, the first chapter is about there's a guy with a shotgun that is terrorizing an apartment building. That is the problem. They solve the problem. However, in solving the problem, they become aware of an apartment that has 300 guns just arranged on the walls, and clearly that is a violation of. You're not allowed to have that many guns on the wall, like so. It's just weird. So they collect all the guns. They got to figure out whose apartment it is. And they have to test all these guns. Turns out a lot of these guns have a kill attached to them. So the rest of the book is just trying to solve, like, who is this killer with all these guns. So, like, that to me is what I aspire to. In that, like, you have a problem. It could be a small problem, and then it leads to a bigger problem. Leads to more problems. It could be a lot of small problems, but then the end, it's just like the thing that you've been trying to deal with through the whole story, that like it's solved,
Right.
or it doesn't even have to be fixed. Like it like I feel like it's like the fifth stage of grieving. Like you have to find acceptance at the end. Like that's what I try to go for.
Yeah. I don't know. I think obviously like a story is I do follow the general structure of like, oh, there is you get out of your the hero's journey type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do follow generally that thing, but I think for me the most important thing is like what am I trying to say with this? Because sometimes, and it happens in real life as well, you open your mouth, you start telling a story, and when you end, you say like, what was the point in that? Even
Mm-hmm.
though it was a story with a perfect structure.
I, I when I read a Shakespeare story, I ask myself, is this one of his mature works or is this one of his immature works? Because like Macbeth, mature work. It's like, all right, he's actually saying something about uh,
Guilt and stuff, yeah.
guilt, power, like search for power, arrogance. Whereas I read something like, say, Othello, where it's like, oh, this is one of his immature works. It's like he has like a couple like interesting parts with Iago, but then you think about it afterwards, it's like, wait a second, did that just happen overnight? Did that all that like where it's like Othello doubts Desdemona over one day, like
Mm.
like like he so it's one of those things where it's just like did the message get lost? Uh, Alfred Hitchcock called it refrigerator logic. When you're like at the middle of the night, you're going down to the refrigerator for a snack, and the light comes on, and all of a sudden
You
you're just like,
forget.
wait a second, how did he get from there to there in 5 seconds when you knew it takes like 20 minutes to do that? Like, how does that happen? So, uh, I don't know. It like there's good storytelling, and then there's like great stories. So like I'm trying to like strike that perfect balance where it's like it's no, I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to have good storytelling and it be a great story.
Oh, for me, I don't know if I'll ever tell a great story, but what I'm trying to do mostly is to make people like what I would hate is for people to read my story and say, what was the point in that?
Hmm.
That's what I would hate, and that's what I try to. I want people to finish reading a story and to understand what they get out of it. What was the story about, without having to think too much.
I don't know. Me personally, like even after all I just said, like I just want to tell a story. I want to tell a story for me that I haven't seen because I've grown up with so many movies, so many comics, and there's nothing worse for me than like uh, a third of the way through, I know exactly how the rest of it's gonna go. Like, like the sooner I know, like if I can look at a trailer and not have to see the movie, like there's nothing more drudgery than having to sit through that movie.
Hmm. I don't know. I'm a compulsive rewatcher. I watch films over and over and over if I really like what they're telling me. So, for example, Jurassic Park, I probably have seen that film like 20 times.
Hmm.
And
You can sit through that one. Like that's a rewatchable movie.
yeah,
Even if you know what's coming, it's just like
it's just fantastic. The
yeah.
characters, the theme, the music, the rhythm, everything. It's just like you end that film and you're like, yeah, humans should be careful with dinosaurs. You know, like
Hmm.
that's not it's not a moralistic story. It's not a, but it's like an examination of something that even me, when I watched it with as an 8-year old, I understood what they were trying to tell me. They were trying to tell me, like, science is cool and we can do a lot of cool things, but maybe we should think about whether we should do them or not, because then dinosaurs come and eat you. It's a very graphic representation of that idea.
Well, there's that, and there's also like the park was safe. They were ready to open. However, one Newman and like cuts the power, and one storm, and
Your
uh,
control is gone. Yeah.
like just one saboteur, one guy that sabotages it, and it's all gone. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
'Cause,
One saboteur and the lawyer gets eaten in the bathroom, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's
oh,
such a great film, and the characters are so iconic, and at the same time, so likable. I don't know. I like every single character in that film, even the ones that are not supposed to be liked. I like the lawyer. The lawyer is great.
well, they're true to the characters. I mean, like the old man at the dinner table was like, man, like you guys are ridiculous. Like the only one that's on my side is the blood sucking lawyer, and
Yes.
because like that was the old man's problem. It's like I have the ability, we've done the work, we're ready to go, and then every scientist in there is just uh, like
Yeah.
nature
This
finds
could.
a way.
Yeah, this could go tits up. And he's like, what? No, no way. How? So we're in the middle of a tropical island. There's a massive storm coming. What could possibly go wrong?
All right,
Yeah.
so go on. Uh,
No, I was just gonna say that that is my thing. Like Jurassic Park, bit by bit, is a good story that solves a problem, that tells you something. But at the end of the day, what you are left with is that feeling of, wow, I know what that film was about.
give me 1 second. I want to kill this phone.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's old school.
It it's so how's the I could cut this out if you want me to. How's the pandemic been for you guys over there?
Not great, but at the moment, not great. Yeah. I think the pandemic is not going great in a lot of places, but here in particular, in my city, is not going great. Where we are forbidden from leaving the city at the minute.
Oh
So
boy,
we can move inside the city, but we cannot leave the city.
there's I don't want to turn it into a political conversation, but like uh, I want to see the next zombie movie that comes out after all of this because there's going to be people that want to get bitten. There's going to be people that are uh, like
That don't
like
believe
no,
it's happening.
no,
And
he's not a zombie. Like the zombies don't exist or whatever. Like meanwhile, there's a million zombies right around. It was like they're fine or whatever. I feel
yeah.
like like the next zombie movie that comes out of this has to be a comedy. Has to be.
Or at least has to be more psychologically realistic to what's happening right now. Like we
Hmm.
understand better how people behave in these situations.
Well,
It's got to be people buying toilet roll. That's for sure.
I I've heard a lot of great theories on that one. Like me, I thought it was because
They were panicking, right?
well, that's number one. But the reason why I thought toilet paper became as sought after as it was because uh, they don't know where things are made. So everyone says we get all of our toilet paper from this country that just shut down. So uh,
Yeah, but it happened worldwide.
That's what I'm saying. Like everyone assumed that China makes the toilet paper, and it was ridiculous. I mean,
It was really ridiculous. It was pretty
but
funny.
the
I almost ran out of toilet paper because of it. We
well,
had a couple of days of a panic, like we have one roll left. What are we gonna do?
well, the panic actually led to an actual shortage because
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
like even because there were shortage because like right now in America, like if you go to places like that, they have a coin shortage because I don't know why we have a coin shortage, but apparently the mint like took a couple days off at a certain point, which I don't understand how that worked. But like things like this is what leads to conspiracy theories. Like right now, like there's a bunch of people out there saying that America's just going to get rid of cash, which
What?
yeah, we're just gonna everything will be digital. Like there's gonna be no reason to have cash anymore. Everyone's gonna have credit cards.
So people
But
are hoarding coins because they think there's not going to be cash.
uh, the, there are a lot of things going on that like because every time there's always like a great upheaval or turmoil. Like there's always opportunists out there that are getting rich. Like even if there's not, like we're just gonna assume there are because that's how because like because you always hear about it 100 years later. It's like, oh, that family they own this company that made this profit because of the war or whatever.
Right.
You always
Right.
hear about those, but the so right now we're just like half educated idiots that are just as like, oh yeah, this is how things work. This is probably going on right now, but we have no idea what the hell's going on or why.
Yeah. It's like I think is the uncertainty because people don't know what's going to happen. They try to do something, but like headless chickens, they're just running around doing shit because nobody knows that like you cannot predict what's going to happen or how to prepare for it because we don't
Hmm.
know. But people still want to prepare for it. That's what I think it's happening. It's like, oh, there's a deadly disease out there, and you or your family might die of it. It's like let's get toilet paper because they don't know what else to do.
Well, the because I social media has been really interesting and because like it's made things worse and it's made things like a little bit better too. Um, when Italy got hit, I saw on Twitter. You know it's a pandemic when because they go to the grocery store and this was a joke, by the way. Maybe not the best taste, but it was a joke. The entire pasta shelf section in the supermarket was empty. I think there was
Yeah.
like a couple gluten-free noodles in there left. So if you're really desperate for pasta, like those were your options.
Yeah.
Uh,
Here was the same.
okay, but the like for like the start of this in March, it was toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and
And meat. And here was meat for some reason.
well,
And bleach.
well, bleach you can make sense because you could kill anything with bleach. Like,
Yeah, people were buying it in like industrial quantities.
well, do you have like
I mean
Sam's
like
Club or do you
five
have like
liters or something.
do you have like Costco out there by you where you can buy things in
There's
bulk?
a thing called macro that is
Okay,
similar. Where
okay,
you have
so
a special, but you have to have a card that you own
mhm.
at least a small business. But people get that card and buy for their families and stuff.
it, it is so easy to get one of those damn. I don't like. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple enough because I know people that have those cards that do
Yeah,
not. Yeah,
I know
the
people. If I want to go, I know a person that has one of them cards.
yeah. Well, there was this one woman. She bought two pallets. Now, mind you, she could have used it. She could have needed it for a business because you have a lot of shaming going on in
Yeah,
social media where it's like this woman won't answer why, which by the way she doesn't have to answer why. She doesn't answer to any other person. However, it's a bad optic when
maybe she was getting rid of a body. Who knows?
ah, it, listen. Uh, oh,
It's the best moment to do it in in the middle of the panic.
yeah,
Like
just everyone disappeared or whatever. It's like I don't know, I heard a news story where this one guy who was a park ranger, he went up to the mountain because when everything was starting to break in the middle of spring. Now, mind you, the Rocky Mountains, it's winter all year round in certain spots. Like at a certain elevation, it could snow during the summer and it could be
Yeah.
gone instantly. Well, there was these campers. They were like, "We're just gonna hide out up here in seclusion. Uh, that we're just gonna wait for all this to blow over." But they were
Okay.
camping in Walmart tents, like
Well done.
your like weekender special. That's what they were using, and it's
They were
like
freezing to death, basically.
yeah, like they had to bring them all off the mountain because like 3 feet of snow and the tents collapsed. It was like, and they were stuck up there.
Oh.
So like everyone like thinks they're a prepper, and then they realize, oh shit, we don't know a damn thing.
Yeah. Just, I think those posters from the Second World War are very, the keep calm
Mm-hmm.
and carry on.
Yep.
That I understand more than ever why those were necessary.
Well, do you know the story behind that one?
The tunnels, yeah, because they had to follow.
Well, that poster actually got released after the war.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, the that poster was designed so that if the Germans had like landed on I always mix this up, British or English soil or whatever. If the British actually got invaded by ground troops and got taken over, they would have that ready to like keep calm and carry on. Like but
I thought it was for the tunnels, right?
it
In
was.
London.
I don't know the whole story. This is what I heard. I heard it was not. It was towards the end of the not even the end of the war, but it was like in case they got invaded, and it came
Yeah.
out
So
afterwards.
like what I heard, and I don't know if this is historical or just a lie that I was told.
Hmm.
They had these tunnels that I think are the metro tunnels, the subway tunnels. And then they're mixed with, you know how claustrophobic the tube in London is? It's like a tiny little
I've never
hole.
been, however, I can
Well, if
imagine
you've
it.
been the one in New
Hmm.
York compared to London is like, I don't know. It's like the difference between a hut and a palace. Like London was made really early on, and so it's just a hole.
Yeah.
Literally, it's like circular. It's very, very claustrophobic. And so I think that this is what I was told, that people were supposed to go into the metro tunnels and continue following the tunnels until they reach the end. So that's the posters like keep calm and carry on is if they were having some sort of panic attack or something because they were just walking in an endless tiny tunnel with a ton of people.
All right. Well, we've done 53 minutes
All right.
so far. Now, uh, before I go, where can people find you at on your socials? Do you have a website that people could go to?
No, I don't do websites, but I do YouTube. You can find me there. Teresa Del Pilar, which is Teresa DEL and Pilar, like a pillar, which is my name. And you can find me also on Instagram, same name but with underscores. And you can find me on Webtoons if you look for Graduation Nightmares.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care and all that.
Yes, you too. Stay safe and don't panic. Keep calm.